Hello and welcome to the 2020 Wisconsin River District Investment and Character Luncheon. My name is Evan Christensen. I am the District Vice Chair of Finance, and I am going to be your guide through the remaining program for this Zoom call. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for joining us. I know the circumstances don't provide us to have an in-person meeting, and whether you're joining us from your home office, as I am, or your phone at the job site or your desk at work, I do appreciate your time and your patience with the technology. And hopefully, fingers crossed, there's no snafus with the remaining portions of the program. I'm very excited about today because we have a very, very interesting program and speaker today, as well as a very, very fine individual who's receiving an award today from the district, and that is Roger Friede. He is the recipient of the 2020 Dedicated Scouter Award, and we have a recording of a video that we took last week in isolation so that we could make sure that we can share his experiences with scouting as well as his hopes for the future and how we can all be improvers of our community. One thing that we do as we start this program, as all scouts and scouters do in every meeting, is that we stand and we recite the Pledge of Allegiance, the Scout Oath, and the Scout Law. Now, we have recordings that I will play of our local scouts doing these things so that we can make sure that we had separation and social distancing and that kids could be in school during this time. So without further ado, I say thank you very much again for joining us, and we can start with the program.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the Scout Law, to help other people at all times, keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
A scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
Hello and welcome to the 2020 Reedsburg Friends of Scouting Virtual Luncheon. My name is Greg Gintz, and I am the Wisconsin River District Community Chair. I am also a Reedsburger, a local business owner, an Eagle Scout, Assistant Scoutmaster, and help out with other capacities within the local scouting program. Thank you for joining this event today. In past years, we met in person at the Reedsburg Country Club. We were able to have table hosts and tables filled with individuals from many local communities that are enthusiastic about the scouting program. We were also able to see in-person presentations from local scouts energizing their recent Eagle projects or what they have been doing to enrich their local communities. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we are unable to safely hold an in-person event for 2020. Hopefully, we will be able to return to an in-person event in 2021, but at this point, we need to be flexible and follow the CDC guidelines and take things one event at a time. If your life is anything like mine, I spend a lot of time in the virtual world. My work has shifted over to primarily virtual and telehealth interactions. So if that is your situation and this is another virtual event that you have added onto that calendar, thank you for prioritizing this event and taking the time to be here. Our local scouts will continue through the pandemic and will continue to help our communities in so many different ways.
Thank you, Greg, very much. I appreciate all that you do for your community, not only as a community chair, but also as a leader here in Reedsburg. Do appreciate it. Next, we have an update from the Assistant Scout Executive, Jason Ballou, who will provide us with an update for the state of the council.
My name's Jason Ballou. I'm the Assistant Scout Executive here at the Glaciers Edge Council. I want to take a few moments and give you some exciting updates about what the Scouts have been up to. We have had 55 young people and counting earn Scouting's highest rank, that of Eagle Scout. And really exciting, we have our very first female Scouts BSA getting ready to join the ranks for the very first time. So October to the first part of next year will be the inaugural class of female Eagle Scouts, and we're getting very close on our council to welcoming our first ones. Some other exciting things that have happened is this spring we had multiple virtual camporees. We had dozens of online virtual merit badges where we had hundreds of Scouts participate. We also were able to safely operate Ed Bryant Scout Reservation with 650 Scouts attending. Currently, we're doing a mixture of virtual and in-person to deliver the scouting program in a safe manner, and we're having a wonderful time doing that. A few other things going on in the council. We do have a few challenges and headwinds. I would probably say during this pandemic, it's been the most challenging time to serve scouting, but I would also say it's probably been the biggest need for scouting. Our families, our Scouts need us, and we've been able to deliver that. Not only am I a scouting professional, but I'm a dad of a couple Cub Scouts, and I know that being involved in our local pack and doing fun things like virtual camporees and den meetings in the park has really been a benefit for our family. So I want to thank you guys for all that you do for scouting and joining us with this virtual event today. And I want to give a special shout out to Roger for all his community work in Reedsburg and everything that he does for scouting and beyond. So thank you and enjoy the event.
Thank you very much, Jason, for your update. Now I would like to move to Lacey O'Rourke, who is the Wisconsin River District Executive, for an update on our district.
Hi everyone, my name is Lacey O'Rourke and I am the Wisconsin River District Executive with the Glaciers Edge Council. Before we get started with the program, I'd like to share some scouting details with you about the Wisconsin River District and also the Reedsburg community. The Wisconsin River District is one of 4 districts within the Glaciers Edge Council, and it is the largest geographically. We cover areas from Montfort to Blanchardville to Sauk City to Portage. From Wisconsin Dells to Richland Center, we cover a lot of ground. And within that area, we have 38 scouting units serving nearly 700 youth and in programs ranging from Cub Scouts to Scouts BSA to venturing crews, and we have 1 exploring post. In 2019, the Wisconsin River District had 26 young men achieve the rank of Eagle Scout, and as Jason mentioned earlier, we will have, for the first time in history, young women achieve this rank in the upcoming year. The Wisconsin River District also in 2019 achieved the gold status for the National Council's metrics outlined as Journey to Excellence. The district continues to provide fun activities, including one that we will have this upcoming Saturday. It is a Cub Scout virtual event, Jurassic Park themed, for a Cub Scout family campout. So we're still doing fun things in the area and trying to provide the utmost fun for our Scouts. The Reedsburg community is also highly active and very successful this year despite the turn of events of 2020 and the current pandemic. For the first time ever, Reedsburg has 6 scouting units, including Cub Scout Packs 244, 247, Scouts BSA units that are coupled with the packs. We have Troops 44, Troop 247, and a Girls Troop 7444. We also have 1 venturing crew 2044. So we have a lot of active youth, about 82 youth, and we have 51 adult members who serve as leadership positions for those units. So in general, we have a really successful thing going on in the Reedsburg area, and we hope to continue to improve that. We even had 8 young men achieve Eagle Scout last year. I thank you for your time today and for continuing to support the Reedsburg area and the Wisconsin River District and Glaciers Edge Council. and I hope you enjoy the rest of the program. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much, Lacey, for the update. Next, I would like to present the 2020 Dedicated Scouter Award to Roger Friede. Roger began his life as a Cub Scout, working all the way through Weeblo and through the Boy Scout ranks, eventually earning his Eagle Scout rank. Greg and I had an opportunity to sit down with him this past week to discuss his life as a scout, what his favorite things were, and how scouting has led him to be the person he is. I would like to present this recording so that you can see that interview in full and see how earnestly this award is given, and I do appreciate Roger's service to the community and to scouting as a whole.
So it's great to see you today, Roger. Thanks again for all that you do for scouting, and that's part of why we want to have you as the honoree for our virtual day, which is obviously a little bit different than the events that we've done last year and years prior. But we are in a pandemic, so
yes, things are different.
Yeah. So I've got a little bit of a list here, and you can feel free to kind of add as we go. But how long have you been involved in scouting, Roger?
Oh gosh, it's a good long time. So, as a youngster, my father got me involved in Cub Scouts, and so that probably was my first introduction into scouting there. And as I look back at my times there, I recognize the commitment my father made to scouting, and how that had a positive impact on my life.
Oh, absolutely. So you brought up your father. Was he a scout as well then? Or?
No, he was not.
Okay.
He was not. But I don't know what got his exposure into scouting. But he was the Cub Master for my Cub Scout troop.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so not a scout as a young scout, but yeah, definitely in scouting as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
What is your favorite, or maybe you have a couple, scouting memories from throughout those years? So starting as a Cub and still being a scout as an adult.
Yeah. Well, I guess, to put them in a kind of chronological order, the Pinewood Derby was always a favorite of mine. I remember working as a den together on the cars, but then also working at home with my father on them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was it was always an exciting time when that came around in the scouting season. And then as we moved into the Boy Scouting aspect of it, summer camp was always a favorite.
Oh, sure.
Back in the day, it was Camp Castle Rock.
Yep, when I went as well. Yeah.
And now the Bryant Center since then, but that was always a highlight of our scouting calendars, is getting there. But then as I got a little older and involved in Scouts, the opportunity to attend some of the larger Boy Scout activities were always important to me. I did enjoy our trip to Philmont, and that was definitely an outing that challenged my physical abilities at the time, being a young scout.
Oh, yeah.
But it certainly cemented my love for the outdoors, being there.
Yeah, that's building character there.
Yep. And then I did have a chance to participate in some jamborees. Went out to Idaho with the Boy Scouts for the Scout Jamboree, and then I had a chance to attend the World Jamboree in Norway a couple years later. So,
oh, neat.
yeah.
So a lot of different experiences, throughout the years with Scouts there. And you brought up CCR, or Camp Castle Rock, which is now at Bryant. And when we started going there as Boy Scouts, one of our scouts, his dad works for you guys, and he would always talk about how Friede had built the giant meal hall that we have there, the giant fellowship hall. And I remember as a scout, we spent half of our time, or 3/4 of our time, preparing the meals and then cleaning up from them. And so now with having that fellowship hall, meals are provided in there. The scouts get a lot more time to do kind of the fun activities and less of the cooking and cleaning that we're able to do on the other campus. So yeah, your business name was always brought up when we would go. And yeah, nice plaques there showing how you guys had helped out. So what point or points of the Scout Law mean the most to you?
Well, I do actually reflect on the Scout law. You know, Scout friendly, courteous, bright, clean, and you remember those things as you go through life. And actually, one of the things that I reflect on, and this was I don't know, a song from the Order of the Arrow. One of the lines was, "Can I guiltless sleep tonight?" And that's something that I think is important for a person as they go through their life. Is, am I conducting myself the way I want to conduct myself?
Absolutely. Yeah. And in that song, we're crossed arms and doing that silent reflection. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing, Roger. So you've kind of mentioned some different pieces here, but how has Scouting shaped your life?
Certainly at a young age, I think it gave me an opportunity to learn some leadership skills. Okay. I think that the opportunity that we give our young people to be leaders in their group is important, and the mentoring that they get from the Cub Masters and the Scout Masters, I think really helps grow that in a young person, and that was something that I feel I had a benefit from.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, a lot of different layers of leadership, your own experience, and then all those role models we get to look up to, too. Yeah. Do you feel without being a Scout that you'd be as good of a leader as you are today?
I think Scouting definitely has been a foundational piece to my growth in leadership.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So what has it been like for you, Roger, being involved in Scouting as an adult?
That is, it's interesting because as I got out into the professional world after I left school, I really didn't have any direct involvement in Scouting for a while. You end up getting wrapped up in your own life early on, but as you start maturing a little bit, you see the young people around you and an opportunity to mentor, and the chance to get back involved with some Scouting a little later in my life was something that I really treasured.
Awesome. Yeah.
Is
there anything particular that kind of drew you in then? Or?
I have many friends from my Scouting days, and just in talking with them, some had become involved in the troop level, and some had become involved, just as parents with their children growing up, and so I think that was kind of what brought my attention back to Scouting.
Awesome. So you've been able to have this experience as a Cub Scout, a Boy Scout, and then as an adult. What is it that you like best about the Scouting program overall?
I think what I like about the Scouting program is all of the content that the Scouts have available to young people. So no matter what the young Scout's interest is, there is something that addresses it. The many different merit badges that are available, the different skills that adults have that are in the program, to whether it's woodworking, camping, model airplanes. There's somebody in the organization that has knowledge and skill in something that you have an interest in, and I think that's really instrumental in growing the youth.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely agree with that. Did you have a favorite year or rank in Scouting? I know you shared a lot of awesome memories from the past there.
Yeah, I think I think Star was one of my favorite times in Scouting. You're just starting to get into this upper ranks, and you're starting to see a path. I pursued the Eagle Scout, and it was right about that point in time that I was, I think I can do this. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, I didn't really think too much about a progression in where I was going with Scouting. I was just there enjoying it. But like I said, I think at the Star level is when I started thinking seriously about what I wanted to accomplish in my Scouting days.
Yeah, set some high goals there and achieved them.
Yep.
Absolutely. So what advice would you give to our current scouts who are the leaders of tomorrow in terms of just their involvement in scouting or just general advice?
I say certainly treasure your time in scouting, and I don't remember who had made this quote or not, but I do remember hearing it that achieving an Eagle Scout ranking in Scouts is something that's cool when you're 15 and still cool when you're 50.
I like that. Yeah.
So I think it's an opportunity to be involved and really push yourself and grow in ways that you probably wouldn't be unless you were involved in scouting.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
So tell me about your experience, and you did a little bit, but when you got pulled back in as an adult, when you were doing stuff at the district or council level, what was that like for you, Roger?
That was actually a very rewarding time. It was a time where it took a fair amount of commitment of time, and I remember one of the standing jokes, and it probably still is a standing joke within Boy Scouts, is that it's only an hour a week.
Yeah.
But it's an hour a week per boy.
Yeah. There's 50 boys in the troop, right? Yeah.
But that time that you spend is certainly, you get the reward from it. You see the smiles on the young people's faces. You see the events come together. So it is a rewarding endeavor.
Yeah, definitely an investment, and I think you get pulled in by the hour a week to start and figure out the scope of it from there. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks again for all that you have done, kind of past, and all that you continue to do for Scouting, Roger. Is there anything else about your Scouting career, about Scouts in general, that you would want to share with our crew today?
Oh, gosh.
It's wide open.
Wide open. No, I just, I guess I would encourage as many of their young people as possible to get involved in scouting. Because as I mentioned before, there is so much content that is available in the scouting program that whatever your interests are, there is the material here to learn, grow, and become better at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Roger. And part of the virtual event that we're doing is to draw in from the community, right? And we've identified you, Roger, as an amazing community member that has started as a scout and continues to give back to the scouting program. And so part of our poll from the people attending the event is to join together as a community to celebrate and to join with the awesome program that scouting is. And we can continue to enrich it in a lot of different ways here.
Yep.
Thank you, Roger, for all that you do for Scouting, as well as all that you do for the Sauk County and Reedsburg communities. I do appreciate it. Next, and the final portion of our program today, is on servant leadership, something that is fundamental to who we are as Scouters and Scouting in general. The presenter today is Justin O'Rourke, who is also our Wisconsin River District Chair. So Justin, please take it away.
All right, thank you for the introduction. I'm going to share some slides here. I hope you can all see them. I'm planning to pack a lot of value into a little time here, so feel free to email me if you have any questions about this presentation. My email will also be at the end of the presentation as well. So I'm excited to share with you an area of research I'm really interested in right now. One of the reasons I chose to study industrial and organizational psychology was because so much scientific research exists on the academic side of things that isn't being implemented by organizations on the practice side of things. Servant leadership is certainly no exception to that rule. I plan to cover three main areas today. First, we're going to talk about what it takes to be a servant leader and what that might look like in your organization. Second, I'm going to discuss what it takes to be a servant leader. And lastly, I have a special twist to the program where I'll share with you what I consider to be the 110-year secret to how Scouting continues to produce exceptional leaders in business, the community, and the world. The origins of servant leadership date back to pre-biblical times, but the concept was brought to the forefront in Robert Greenleaf's 1970 essay, The Servant as Leader. Greenleaf spent 38 years as the Director of Management Development at AT&T, followed by a career as a management consultant. Despite the 50 years that have passed, servant leadership remains highly underadopted by businesses and community leaders. While at AT&T, Greenleaf questioned whether the traditional authoritarian style of management was the most effective approach. Greenleaf argued for a more supportive method in which the leader strengthened the followers and empowered them to succeed. He called it servant leadership. The servant leader is always asking, how can I help? They're the bosses who anticipate the needs of their employees and make sure they get met. They're the nonprofit community organizer who actively seeks ways to help stakeholders and their volunteers. A researcher named Larry Spears identified 10 characteristics of servant leaders. They're empathetic, listen to each other, and maintain a heightened awareness. They tend to the well-being of others. They're persuasive without coercion and good stewards of their organization. They predict what their teams will need, and they focus on growing individuals and building the community. They are relentlessly selfless. Now might be a good time to acknowledge that servant leadership sounds like a paradox or an oxymoron. Servants serve at the leader's direction, right? Some of you probably are thinking that this is a soft approach that would leave a leader vulnerable to be taken advantage of. However, researchers found that people start to emulate a servant leader's behavior and they actually reciprocate. So you have leaders propping up their subordinates as those subordinates reciprocate by serving their leader. You have people serving each other, people regardless of their role, helping each other become better and more successful. If your people are serving you because you serve them, you have earned a substantial amount of influence. That is truly the high-performing organization of the 21st century. A fun little aside here, remember servando guberno. It has a dual meaning. I serve by governing, and I govern by serving. Just a fun fact, it's also the Gaelic Order O'Rourke's family motto. And for what it's worth, I had no idea there was a family motto associated with my surname until I was well into adulthood. But consider the duality of that saying. When done selflessly, is leading not a service to others? And is choosing to serve others not leadership? So how does one become a servant leader? The greatest obstacle to becoming a servant leader is the decision to start. Robert Greenleaf said that servant leadership begins with a natural feeling that one wants to serve, followed by the conscious choice to aspire to lead. You need to decide, what kind of leader do you want to be? How do you want to be perceived? What kind of influence do you want to have on other people? And how do you want your actions to impact the lives of others? Number 2, don't set limitations on your servitude by thinking, I'm going to be a servant leader unless or except when. Be a servant leader in every situation. Inconsistency can reduce the trust your team puts in you. 3, take time to analyze what's around you. How are your team members doing? Ask yourself why they do what they do. What might they need from you? What can you do to help them get better? And finally, accept that you're always improving. Servant leadership is a bit of a spectrum. It's impossible to adhere to all 10 characteristics all the time. Nobody's perfect, but the best are always getting better. When there are challenges, we often look for someone to blame, a way to enforce strict accountability in hopes that it never happens again. Consider the employee write-up. The write-up doesn't correct a problem, it documents it. Too often we put emphasis on documenting an incident and telling the employee that they shouldn't repeat the problematic behavior. What we neglect to do is help the employee solve their problem. The servant leader investigates what the employee needs for improvement and helps them solve that problem. Moreover, the servant leader asks themselves, what more could I have done to prevent the situation? They aren't necessarily blaming themselves or exonerating the staff from responsibility. They're simply acknowledging that there's always room for their own growth in supporting their team members. Take a sales manager, for example. Remember Alec Baldwin's Coffee is for Closers scene from Glengarry Glen Ross? It is one of my favorites. In the scene, Alec Baldwin comes down on an underperforming sales staff with an iron fist. He spends over 7 uncomfortable minutes threatening their jobs and belittling them. While Baldwin's character uses threats and coercion to influence the sales team, a servant leader would ask themselves, what more could I do to support this staff? What should I have done differently to support them? What gaps do I need to help them fill to be successful? Their main concern would be what they could do to make everyone a closer. In Robert Greenleaf's The Servant as Leader, he quotes an author, Paul Goodman, who wrote, "If there is no community for you, young man, make it yourself." I implore you to adopt servant leadership as more than a technique to manage your teams. Make it your lifestyle. What more can you do to help others in your community? What need can you fill? Even take a moment to consider what acts of service you can do for your spouse or your children. Communities are built on people helping people, on selfless service that is reciprocated time after time until generosity is systemic. Imagine that. Systemic generosity. All right, now as promised, the big reveal. Many are well aware that scouting creates exceptional adults. Just to name a few, Martin Luther King Jr., Steven Spielberg, Bill Gates, and Hank Aaron. Of the last 12 presidents of the United States, only 2 were without a substantial tie to scouting. And if you're wondering which 2, it's highly likely that your first 2 guesses are correct. So, how has scouting, for over 110 years, consistently produced great leaders? The answer is by preparing them for a life of service to others. Scouting creates servant leaders. You may be familiar with James Schuyler's 3 levels of leadership, also known as the 3 P's of leadership. Basically, outer levels of public and private are the leadership behaviors that one exhibits. However, these leadership behaviors are based on the inner level. That personal dimension includes skill, attitude, emotional intelligence, self-awareness, character, and a personal code of ethics. It's within the personal dimension that the desire to serve and a calling to lead resides. The Scouts prepare young people to make ethical and moral choices over their lifetimes by instilling in them the values of the Scout Oath and Law. That is word for word the mission of the BSA. They strengthen the fundamentals in that personal core which prepares Scouts to become great servant leaders. I hope you will all take that message of servitude forward from this presentation. I also hope you gained a better understanding of servant leadership and plan to implement it in your own professional and personal lives. As a servant to you, I encourage you to reach out to me with any questions about servant leadership and any other organizational psychology topics. More than anything, I thank you for joining us to support Scouting and honor Roger's contributions to Scouting, business, and the community. I leave you with one last quote to ponder from Robert Greenleaf's essay. Leadership is something given or assumed that can be taken away. Servant nature is the real man, not bestowed, not assumed, and not to be taken away. He is servant first. Thanks, everyone. I'll send it back to Eben to continue with the program.
Thank you very much, Justin, for your presentation. This is the end of our program for today. Again, I want to say thank you for your patience with the technology, with this medium. I do appreciate all of the care that you have taken to join us today. I also want to ask that you help support Scouting in our communities. I believe Scouting creates strong communities, and one of the ways that we can give back to Scouting is by our financial support. Please visit wisconsinriver.org. On that page, you will see a link to the Reedsburg-Sauk County FOS event, and on that page, you will see a link to donate directly to Scouting to support Scouting. One of the unwritten and unknown rules of Scouting is that only the applications for Scouts goes to the national organization. Every dollar that we support Scouts with in our communities stay in our communities, whether that be through developing programs at camps like at Bryant or at Camp Indian Trails, directly to supporting our volunteers. We have trainings yearly that we are required to do that help ensure that our kids are safe and that the program that they receive is one that is exciting and enjoyable. I believe very strongly in Scouting. I hope to share that message. I hope that message was shared with all the people today that you saw. And again, please visit wisconsinriverdistrict.org. If you would like to volunteer, please send our district an email through our contact. And I hope that you all have a great day. And I will end with a video that was produced by the national organization about the characters of Scouting, or the character of Scouting, also the characters in Scouting, to help hopefully provide you with the fundamental aspects of why we do what we do. So again, thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for all that you do for Scouting. I do appreciate it.
At the Boy Scouts of America, our oath remains: a Scout pledges to be kind, helpful, and brave. We're committed to providing a safe and welcoming environment where Scouts can establish the foundations of character that will last a lifetime. Our approach ensures the Boy Scouts of America is building the youth of today into the leaders we'll turn to tomorrow. The Boy Scouts of America. Building character is in our nature. Visit scouting.org to learn more about Scouting.